The hour is late. A hero was lost. And the enemy approaches.
Hold on, everyone. I'm about to do something badass.
Al-Araf, I'll guard you yet. May deliverance alight as I become your aegis.
I'm gonna take back some of the things I said about him.
Warning! The following video is a retrospective, not just a review. That means complete and utter spoilers for the game, its story, and especially its ending. If you're coming here from the far future of the Divinity series, you might not have time to play every entry in the series and just want to know what happens. Don't worry, I've got you covered. Today we'll be talking about Divinity 2's expansion pack, Flames of Vengeance. Enjoy and get caught up on the story.
It would be an entire year before the Flames of Vengeance expansion pack came out to cap off the end of the Ego Draconis story. You can imagine all the angry emails and death threats that both gamers and publishers sent to Larian Studios. It takes place in Al-Araf, the city of healers. I gotta say, this place has turned out pretty weird. When Mardanius started the place, it was supposed to be a gathering village for healers of all the races, but since none of the races are around anymore, it's completely unrecognizable. Where there used to be plain old houses and one store, this place has evolved into a bizarre town in the past 80 years time span since we saw it last. Now it has a cathedral, a brothel, a hair salon, a black market of illegal wares, and an insanity asylum. There are plenty of houses, almost all of which have secret passages in them, and even a gentleman's club called the Prancing Seahorse. Yeah, exactly. I can't say I'm a fan of this expansion pack. You're confined to Al-Araf since Damien's armada destroyed all the waypoint shrines, which you used to teleport around. You can still go back and forth to your battle tower, but nothing's changed there. This adds about 20 hours of gameplay, almost entirely composed of non-plot related subquests. I can narrow down what happens since the plot itself is pretty short. In order to keep Damien and his floating fortresses from destroying Al-Araf, Zandalor puts a magical shield around the entire city, but in order to make one on such short notice, he had to harvest it from somewhere. Turns out, below Al-Araf, buried even deeper than Theliron in the first game, is another powerful wizard named Berlin. With one of the barriers taken off of his tomb, Berlin can roam free in spirit form. He comes to you and Lucian in the alternate dimension crystal prison with an offer. Free him from his confinement below the city and he'll free you, Lucian, and help you defeat Damien. He promises you a magic bomb called the Eye of the Patriarch if you release him. And no, it's not actually his eye, it's just called that to tell you how powerful it is. There's really no ambiguity here. You have to unleash a great evil to defeat the current one and save the city. With that, he zaps you back to Al-Araf to carry out his bidding. I said I'd be back. This was actually pretty clever, so points to Larian for this. Over the years, Al-Araf has apparently installed dozens of side tunnels, hidden chambers, and extra stuff to make it more interesting, because I was constantly getting lost and trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing and where I was supposed to be going. It's not that the game's unfair, there's just no hand-holding here. But when almost every house and every person you talk to starts a quest, it can get really confusing. But the short and long is that Zandelor can only hold the barrier for so long, and he wants you to go retrieve the Eye of the Patriarch from Berlin. If that means busting him out of the vault that he's sealed in, well, so be it. Everybody's up against the wall as it is here, so a weapon like the Eye of the Patriarch, at least we'd stand a chance. So how do we bust Berlin out of his prison? Well, the game follows a simple formula. You need to defeat 5 bosses hidden around Al-Araf, each of which will drop an item with a written hint inscribed on it.
This ring, dented and faded with the eons, carries an engraved message. Gold is what the violet blast craves most.
Using those 5 hints, you gather 5 magic orbs and place them in a specific order on 5 of 9 runes written on a floor somewhere. Doing so in the proper layout will open the vault and release Berlin.
You are here, where I am bound in the maw of blind injustice. We come to it at long last. Go on, O Liberator. Unhinge the gate. Free to once more rule and conquer. Dragon Knight, the deed is done, and I hand you your prize, for that was my promise. The Eye of the Patriarch. Go ahead and obliterate that tiny force out there. What difference does it make now that I am unchained? Let the Divine wear the shackles in my place, while the Damned One reaches his full demonic potential. With my help!
Berlin gives you the Eye of the Patriarch as promised, but doesn't free Lucian, the Divine One. Instead, he flies off to join Yagurna at Damien's fortress. Now you have everything you need to go on the offensive against the massive armada that's just outside the force field. Time to blow the dome. Now begins the coolest part of all Divinity 2, delivering the bomb. The Eye of the Patriarch is loaded onto an airship and flown towards Damien's stronghold. It's heavily defended, so you must protect the ship while in dragon form until it gets close enough to drop it. Things don't go as planned, though.
We are too heavily damaged! We can never make it back! It's no good. There is but one course open to us. To crash into the castle.
There must be another way, Titus. It will mean your death.
No! It must be done! Cover our last approach, dragon. We will vanquish the Black Ring yet!
The resulting blast destroys the Armada, saving Al-Araf and Rivellon. Yagurna and Berlin pull you into an in-between dimension where you were trapped with Lucian before for a final showdown.
Flames, my body, wrecked because of you. The pest that brought ruin to my citadel and my beauty. You have nothing to teach me, slave to the divine.
It is over, Yagurna. Admit defeat.
Why should I do that? I have vanquished the demise of my very soul, and I shall vanquish the dragon as well. What is more, that heap of hovels called Al-Araf may be saved from destruction, but you did not end the damned one. Damien is elsewhere, preparing for completion, and I will slay you here, with the help of Berlin.
My kind liberator. I told you she would come for you, my dear. That was not avoidable. I would have enjoyed to confront you in a less ephemeral state. But there we are.
Just leave the final stab to me. It is my pet, and mine to put down.
You had better do as she tells you. For an alliance with Damien will bring you no power, only subservience.
It is better to be a vassal of chaos than to bow before the seven spineless gods.
Enough of these mere words. This battle has been postponed long enough.
I agree. Go ahead, scarred sorceress, and face death once more.
I do think it's funny that she's just wrecked. I mean, look at her. Berlin and I didn't get burned, so why is she like that? Damien is, again, nowhere in sight, so you'll have to make do with the two of them for the final boss battle. I'm not gonna lie, this is a challenging fight. Berlin delivers powerful fireballs, and Yagurna uses sword combos. Taking one after the other with no healing is a pretty sure chance of death most of the time, so you have to stay light on your feet. They're pretty squirrely too, so you've got to stay close to them or they'll just unleash more devastating ranged attacks. Staying in melee range is paramount to win this fight. Since Yagurna is lighter and heals more often, I focused her down first, then Berlin was an easy kill. With Yagurna and Berlin dead, Lucian is freed and you all return to Al-Araf. That's pretty much the end. No fight with Damien, we don't even see him run away or secret himself out of his own fortress. He just wasn't home when we went to blow it up. Even I can tell the original ending was supposed to be you fighting Damien and Yagurna. Instead we get this random spirit form wizard that has nothing to do with anything. Also, why did Berlin have the Eye of the Patriarch? Where did he get it? Why didn't he use it to keep from getting sealed up in the first place? There's just too many questions here, and once again, Larian Studios' budget cuts and hatchet storytelling rears its ugly head. They've already gone on record saying that Divinity 3 will be the end of the Damien arc of the story, but they've been making one prequel after another lately, so if that ever comes to light, I'll be sure to review it. In the meantime, all we got was a serious cock tease, followed by a non-delivery ending. If Damien had been in the Flying Fortress, it would have been a cool 3-on-1 fight. Or better yet, freeing Lucian during the final fight would have been an epic 2-on-3 fight. There's so many good ideas staring this game in the face that were just not addressed. I guess I can give the expansion a 5 out of 10. It's par for the course. I mean, it's a good example of the RPG genre, but it doesn't bring anything new to the table. With Ego Draconis getting a 7 out of 10, that averages out to a 6 for the combined Dragon Knight saga. I want to give this game a higher score, I do, but the misuse of its own lore, the badly placed Easter eggs, and just the non-ending that happens here that just forgets Damien entirely just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I can't give it a good score because it just doesn't work well enough to stand on its own. It's lacking that special something that makes it an awesome game. So here's hoping Divinity 3 will not only do things right, but have a proper ending instead of sweeping the main villain under the rug off screen. We don't even see him during Flames of Vengeance. Again, it's not a bad game, it's just badly handled. I would say it's worth playing, but maybe wait until Divinity 3 so you can at least get a sense of closure instead of waiting for a few years like the rest of us. Where did Damien go? There's really no telling, and we're not gonna know until Divinity 3.
So those are my thoughts on Flames of Vengeance, a real spit in the eye in terms of delivering what it set us up for. Larian Studios continues to write its games like other people write comic books, just baiting you into buying the next one instead of trying to sell a complete story with a beginning, a middle, and a satisfying end. But there is one more game to play before we arrive in the modern era of the Divinity series that began with Divinity Original Sin. Next time, we will be going over a prequel that takes place thousands of years ago in the storyline. It's time for us to become a Dragon Commander. Keep gaming!